One more part. All right. So they're like, okay. She's like, so things were started off fine. They made sure this baby had, you know, nothing pink or blue, just, unisex colors. Unisex colors, got both boy and girl toys for this kid to play with, and just had the kid play, and the kid grew up to get old enough to go to school, and then it's like, hey, we want this kid to told the principal, hey, we want the kid to use your the one thing that they can't hide basically is like we want they say don't let we want the kid to use your restroom, use your restroom to the principal, like it's or a private restroom or something like that. Can you do that? And it's like, yes, we can. I'm like, okay, narrative purposes, that's fine with me. That works. I don't know if that's totally possible, 100% of the time, but still, they had that going on. So basically, and it's like, okay, this kid's hair was cut in such a way that it was you couldn't tell it was it wasn't too short, wasn't too long. All this kid, he or she always wore like overalls, wore overalls, and it just it's like okay, and then he or she loved to play all different games, the kid would run, like to run around, do track, but also like these kids are like young, like year 10, 11, 12, not that old yet. 10 or so, not that old. But still. So it's like, okay, they're like hanging out, running around, having a fun time. The kid can be both play house, and, run around, do track and other more boys, masculine sports, and stuff like that. And that's actually making, caused kids to be like, hey, if oh, and the kid's name was X for some reason. They decided to go with X for the kid's name. So X was, basically just they had X run around. X was running around having a fun time, and that caused other kids to wonder. Both boys and girls were like, hey, if X can do that, why can't I do that? So it's like, okay, you have a boy who likes to just hang out with a baby carriage, a doll in a baby carriage, and just hang out and play house every now and then. You have a girl who wants to run track and do more masculine things, or wear overalls to instead of dresses. And then things got a little heated with these some with these parents who were like their kids were changing. They were basically like, hey, like these the boy kid was trying to do some more feminine stuff, and the girl kid was trying to do more masculine stuff. And they're like, oh, I don't like this. What's gonna you gotta we gotta figure this out. Get to the bottom of this. And it was not about the X was not transgender. X was just a kid. X is not transgender. X is just a kid, just hanging out. And it's like they had doctors and experts and other people examine the kid, examine him or her, this kid, and test him and test him or her, test, test him, like I say M as in the person, test, run tests and all kind of stuff. So now that jack is complete, right there. You got all three wires on there. Very nice. Yeah, it's all taped up real nice, really good. All right, now it's kind of like making flies, flies, fishing reel flies, lure flies. I'll throw that in there, and that's how that goes. So it was interesting. So it was like, okay, the results are this kid is, just a kid, big deal. Actually, not confused at all. What's the deal? Why are you all ticked off about this kid is just wanting to play what they want to play? Is this that important for this kid to only do what their gender, is supposed to do? It talks about the stereotypes. That's the important thing about BBX. That's why I liked it. That's why I did not like the transgender Cinderella story, because basically the transgender issue seems shoehorned in, and I would rather have been like, hey, maybe if the girl's name was Jamie. Okay, so that's a unisex name as well. So it was like, okay, Jamie's like, I want to, look like this. Like maybe if Jamie was like, hey, the the girl, my sisters are all doing all this stuff, and they say I don't look good in these outfits and this do this stuff and everything like that. Maybe if I tried my own style, maybe that would work better. I'm wondering if I should use this one. That's why I'm taking so long. Yeah, that's right. Right. So it's like, yeah, she had her own style, and that style looks more masculine, more androgynous. Excuse me. Then it'd be like, oh yeah, I'm cutting my hair short and I'm wearing pants. I look good. I feel comfortable. I like looking like this. Then that would have been way better than what it was, because then it's like not trying to just shoehorn in transgender issues. It's more likely, it's talking about some transgender issues, but not in the way that's like, oh yeah, confusing to me. Confusing because it's like, oh no, no, see, she's not feeling, like she's right, because, they have to make it clear that it's because, she was female, she was born female, but wants to be male, but unfortunately, with two step brothers saying she's worthless and useless and whatnot, it comes off as she doesn't feel worth anything or anything like that because of her step brothers. So I'm like, man, because the step brother said so. I'm like, no, that is weird. I didn't like that. Yeah, so yeah, and that's just stuff. I also learned this. Let's do a story about a guy today. StoryCorps. I haven't heard from them, seen new stuff from them in a while. But StoryCorps, basically, they have some very heartfelt stories that are animated, that are like flash animated and stuff. It's really cool to see it because it's flash animation and all kinds of cool stuff. It's really fun. It's really nice to see. But the stories can get pretty crazy. You have a guy. I think the one I saw. It's called A Good Man. You have a guy whose father kicked him out of the house because he was gay. Because he decided to be. He said he was gay. So basically, told his other children not to talk to him at all because he doesn't want them to catch it. And I'm like, and then he's like, yeah. And so he was talking to his one of his brothers about this, relaying the story, repeating. He's like, basically, going through the story with one of his brothers. They're all grown up now, and he's like as either you guys, either left or kicked out. I'm like, well, and the guy's like, or ran away. It's like, oh yeah. In your case, you ran away, dude. But we eventually started coming back, able to, talk to each other again and stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay. You ran off all your kids, so now that's not, yeah. That's tough stuff, man. I'm wondering why. Thinking, I wonder why he decided that traditional family values weren't going to work for him, so he decided to do something else instead. That's all I'm like. Oh yeah, yeah. It's so bad because I was like, yeah, that was crazy stuff there because I was like, no, like, oh, he actually had, a great, he actually was able to reconnect with all his family and help, they had another brother, a younger brother, and they actually were able to help him get off to college or something, eventually, and he's like, and the guy was basically became a real second father to him, so it was really cool, because you see him going off to college, and he like says, he told, before he left, he told me that he loved me, and he walked away. It was the happiest moment, I ever had. It's like, it was the happiest moments of my life. The guy said to his brother, yeah, you told me, you were crying about that. So yeah, but I was happy though. It was like, oh yeah. So yeah, you helped your brother our brother get into college, man. You're a good man, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Of course, as a Christian, against homosexual acts, but you're not against people uh, being like, hey, this is wrong, or this is, I want to, or I am not against people saying, this was a horrible situation. I don't want to be in this situation no more, more things like that, that was bad, I, chose this, but You know, this was still bad. See you guys next time. Mm-mm.